Hello, it's Jo here from Shalem Health Retreat, and today we are going Italian. Yum, oh, I love Italian food, and I can guarantee you that this recipe is sure to become a favourite of yours because it is certainly a favourite of mine. It's tofu and spinach cannelloni. Very, very easy, very healthy to make, and of course very tasty. So let's make our tomato sauce first. We're going to make a homemade tomato sauce for this recipe. Incredibly simple. The first thing we want is an onion that I've just quartered. It doesn't need to be chopped up because all of these ingredients are going to be cooked and then blended. So we've got our onion in there. We want 4 cloves of garlic. Going to give it that beautiful oniony, garlicky flavour. And then just to take the sharpness off the tomatoes that we'll be adding, we just want to put in some dates. I've just counted out 10 dates. Again, I like the use of dates because it's not a refined sugar. It gives us plenty of fibre in our diet as well as that beautiful flavour of the dates. And then we're just going to add 2 tins of tomatoes. These are whole tomatoes. You could use crushed, or you could use cooking tomatoes, probably about 1 kilo, I would say, of cooking tomatoes. But today we're using organic tin tomatoes. Pop those into the Thermomix like so. You could use a food processor or a blender for this recipe. Then we just want 3 tablespoons of tomato paste just to intensify that delicious tomatoey flavour. And for our seasonings, we're just using a teaspoon of mixed herbs and a teaspoon of Celtic salt. And I love this recipe because not only is it great for the cannelloni, but this is a fantastic tomato sauce recipe. So if you're not wanting to buy tomato sauce from the supermarkets, you can just whip this up in your blender or Thermomix, cook it, and there you have a beautiful tomato sauce, which you could put in a squeeze bottle for the children. They would really enjoy this. No preservatives, no additives, no nasties, just pure goodness. All right, so we're going to cook this now for about 20 minutes. In the Thermomix, you could cook it in a pot and then just give it a blend up with a stick mixer. You don't need a Thermomix. 20 minutes on 90 degrees at about speed 4, and we'll come back and show you. So our tomato sauce has just finished cooking, and let's have a look at that. Whoa. So this is going to be the tomato sauce that we're using in our tofu and spinach cannelloni. And what we want to do is just put a little bit of that on the base of our Pyrex dish here. Not all of it, probably I'd say about 1/3 of it. And what we want to do is just make sure that that Pyrex dish is all covered there with the tomato sauce. So we've just cooked that tomato sauce in the Thermomix and blended it up. And now what we want to do is I want to show you how to make the filling for the cannelloni. So we'll just set that aside for a moment. Now, the first thing we need for our filling is 500 grams of tofu. Now, we want to use the firm tofu, not the silken tofu. And I've just crumbled this in the Thermomix. You can just get a fork or just crumble it up with your hands. So 500 grams of tofu. Now, don't be afraid to use tofu. I know people can be a bit scared of it. They go, ooh, tofu. But it's an amazingly versatile ingredient. Very, very healthy. It's made from soybean curd, and it's got a lot of those amazing plant qualities that are very, very good for our body. An excellent source of protein, of omega-3s, of tryptophan, which our brain needs to make serotonin. So really, I would really encourage you to include tofu as part of your plant-based diet. And it's very versatile because it'll soak up, yes, it's bland, I will confess, but it'll soak up all of those ingredients that you're going to use it for, whether that's a sweet dish, a savoury dish, and it just gives it a beautiful creamy texture, as you'll discover with this cannelloni. So we want our tofu there. Next thing we're going to add is our coconut cream, 270 ml can of that. Now, the other thing I would say with the tofu as well is make sure you're getting organic, because, excuse me, many of our soybeans now are genetically modified, but if you're getting the organic tofu, then you won't run into those problems. Okay, so just pop that aside there. So that's our coconut cream. We want some lemon juice, so this is just 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm going to pop in there. Next, we're going to add our seasoning. So we want some Celtic salt. We also want some garlic powder, some onion powder in there as well. So we're going to pop that all in like so. And next, we're going to add our spinach. So I've just got this silverbeet out of the garden, just a generous bunch. I've just chopped it up roughly and then poured boiling water over it just to blanch it. And that's going to go in with our filling. You don't need to cook it. That boiling water will just give it that blanched texture, and it will get cooked in the oven anyway. If you don't have spinach to hand growing in the garden, then obviously you can buy it at the shop, or you can just use this frozen variety, which works just as well. Frozen vegetables, don't be afraid of them. They are picked fresh and then snap frozen, so you still are getting goodness. Obviously fresh is best if you can, but frozen is a very convenient way of having our veggies. So yeah, don't shy away from the frozen variety. All right, so we just want to mix all of that up together. Look at that colour, isn't it amazing? And this is just going to be so deliciously creamy when you bite into that cannelloni. I would say don't make the same mistake that I made when I first did this recipe. Rather than spread the tomato sauce a little bit of it over the base of the dish, I thought I'll just put the cannelloni tubes straight onto the dish, and then I'll just pour the tomato sauce over the top of that. Well, that was a big mistake, because we need some moisture at the bottom of the dish for that cannelloni tube, that pasta tube, to cook on the bottom. So I had beautifully cooked cannelloni on the top and nice crunchy cannelloni on the bottom. So we don't want that. We want it to be fully cooked all the way through. So yeah, don't shortcut this recipe. Just make sure you pop that tomato sauce, a little bit of it on the base of the dish. All right, that is beautifully mixed up now. So what we want to do is grab our cannelloni tubes that you just buy in the supermarket in the pasta section, and then we're going to fill them with our filling. Very, very easy to do. And this, you know, this recipe does have a few steps to it, but I can guarantee you that your family and friends are going to love this. Everyone I serve this dish to absolutely just loves it. It's so tasty, so amazingly delicious. So, yes, a bit fiddly, a bit tricky, but, you know, for special occasions, why not? And the other good thing about this dish is that it freezes really well. So what I like to do with my meals is I will have a cooking day and I will just make a whole heap of meals, you know, 3 or 4 at a time. And then I'll just get glass containers and I will cut up the meal, you know, dish it up into serving sizes, 1 serving size, pop it in the glass container and put it in the freezer. And there's my meals, you know, done for a week or maybe 10 days. So, yeah, that's how I like to cook. And this is one that freezes really, really well. So I will go ahead and finish off the rest of these. And then I'm going to come back and show you how to make the magnificent and delicious cashew and tahini sauce that will go on the top of this recipe. So all you do is fill all of the cannelloni tubes, lay them down there on the Pyrex dish, and then you're going to cover it up with the rest of the tomato sauce, the tahini and cashew sauce on top, and pop it in the oven. But I'll come back once I've finished all of these tubes. All right, well, we finished rolling our cannellini, stuffing them, I should say. And doesn't that look amazing? And we haven't even finished yet. So now what we want to do is we want to pour over the rest of our homemade tomato sauce, just making sure that we cover all of those cannelloni shells so that they get well cooked. As I said, don't make the same mistake I did. Make sure all of those pasta shells are covered in liquid, and then they will just cook beautifully in the oven. And the thing I love about this recipe is it does mimic the ricotta. So if you're used to having, you know, spinach and ricotta, then I would definitely, and you love that sort of taste and flavour, I would definitely recommend giving this recipe a try, because the tofu, the coconut cream, that's really going to give you that ricotta-y, smooth, creamy texture. And the flavours are just beautiful when you get that garlic and onion flavourings in there. You really are not going to miss out on taste. But what you will miss out on is all of the cholesterol, the saturated fat, and those proteins that are in dairy that our gut finds really hard to digest. So they're the sort of things we want to be missing out on, aren't they? But we're certainly not going to be missing out on flavour or texture. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is just make our cashew tahini sauce. So I'm going to quickly give the Thermomix a rinse. Okay, back again. Now the thing I love about this sauce is the tahini flavour. Tahini is made from sesame seeds and it's got a very unique flavour, but with the cashews and the other ingredients that we're going to use, this sauce is sensational. I can guarantee you're going to love it. So the first thing we want is a cup of cashews. Now, I've said this many times before on my videos, but cashews will become your best friend in the kitchen, excuse me, when you start going more plant-based, when you start eating those whole plant foods, because cashews give it that creamy texture and it replaces the dairy cream with whole food that has all of the amazing plant properties in it in terms of nutrients, but none of those other issues that we get with dairy. So 1 cup of raw cashews, make sure they're raw. Then we're going to add our tahini. So we want 2 dessert spoons of tahini. Again, that's going to give it that beautiful flavour, but also creaminess as well for this replacement cheese sauce. Okay, and then we want some lemon juice. So I've just got a tablespoon of lemon juice that's going to go in there, give it a bit of zing. Now we're going to add some arrowroot powder that will thicken this sauce, as well as salt, garlic powder and onion powder. So that's all going to go in there. If you want the measurements for this recipe, you'll find all of those in the description below this video. And then lastly, we just want a cup of water. So we're going to pop all of that and blitz it all up, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. All right, so we've just blitzed up our cashew tahini sauce. It's going to go on top of our cannelloni here, and that smells incredible. I love the smell of tahini. If you haven't used it, give it a go. It's very, very good for us. It's sesame seeds just ground up. That's all it is. And sesame seeds are very high in calcium. And so we can use those as a dairy replacement. All right, so there you go. There's our cashew tahini cheese sauce that we're just going to pour over the top like so. Doesn't that look sensational? And then we're just going to pop this in the oven, 180 degrees for about 40-45 minutes. And I can tell you, your friends and family will just love this dish. The flavours, the creaminess, it really does tick all of the boxes. And as I said, freezes very well. And yeah, none of those issues with the dairy, just whole plant foods as our Creator intended for us to eat. So let's just make sure that's all covered. All right, pop that in the oven and I'll show you the finished result. Well, our tofu and spinach cannelloni has just come out the oven, and doesn't it look sensational? And it's going to taste even better. My mouth is watering just smelling it. So I'm going to serve it up now, just with a simple garden salad. You could have a beautiful Greek salad with it. Yeah, whatever salads you like, potato salad, coleslaw, anything that is going to be fresh. Or you could have it with steamed veg. So let us have a look inside and see what it looks like. Wow. Delicious, amazing, beautifully presented on the plate. So I recommend that you try our tofu and spinach cannelloni.